Hi everybody, I got my hands on this. Let me show you a bit closer. This is a SCSI2SD card version 5.2, and what it does is it emulates SCSI hard drives, and I will use this in order to recreate an original hard disk 20SC, because when I got this, the SCSI drive inside was not working at all. It was damaged, as it is with a lot of SCSI drives, because they're just not very well suited for long-term usage. And what I'll do is I will set up this SCSI2SD card completely in order to show you how that works. Then I will test it with my Macintosh Plus, and in the end I will put it into the case for good, so it will be a proper hard disk 20SC again. Let's go. Now welcome to Dongle Mania. You see the SCSI2SD hooked up to a micro USB cable, going into a USB-C dock, going into my MacBook Pro. And here we have a cat disturbing me. And I will show you by screen recording what I'll do with this SCSI2SD card. Now I'm here on the Code SRC website about the SCSI2SD. I will post a link onto the video comments so you can easily follow up what I'm doing. On this website you will find a bunch of information about the SCSI2SD, also the download section for the firmware updates, so you should do that when you get yours. And what you also find are some specific instructions, for instance if you want to make it work with the Macintosh Plus, which I'm about to do. Besides that, you will need the SCSI2SD app, which is that one here. You can download it online, or you can just get it from the App Store. It's the easiest way to get it. As you see, the SCSI2SD is ready. The firmware is the latest one. If you want to upgrade it, you just go to File, Upgrade Firmware, and load the file you downloaded from the website I showed you. Now let's start off with this first page, because they are suggesting for the Macintosh Plus to change the selection delay to 0, which we are doing here. Then we make sure that enable unit attention is off. It is off, and will enable respond to short SCSI selection pulses, which is that one. And then we're going to device 1 in order to set up the SCSI2SD. We want to set it up as a hard drive. And here I'm going to do the first and only change to the default settings, which is I'm going to set it to 20 megabytes. Why? Because I want to replicate a pure hard disk 20SC. Here you can set the SCSI ID, and with these other tabs you could theoretically mount up to 4 devices with only one SCSI2SD card, which I'm not going to do. And now I'm going to just write these settings to the SCSI2SD. And as you see, it's loading. Regarding the preparation of the SD card, there are multiple ways to do that. There are many images on the internet which you could download and get onto an SD card. I am not going to do that because I'm trying something different today. I have formatted the SD card, which is the only thing I do, with this command line, which you can just do in terminal. This disk2 refers to my disk2, so you should check if you put in your SD card in your computer which disk number it has. And with this command you will format it in MS-DOS FAT16 format, which is supposedly the best one for that. And that's the only thing I'm going to do on the SD card. and I'm going to show you why in just a second. And I also want to show you how I hooked it up. So here we have the SCSI2SD. The Mac Plus does not provide power through the SCSI port, which is why I need to put it on USB power for that. And in order to connect it to the SCSI port, I'm using the original internal mechanism of this hard disk 20SC. That is how it looks from the inside. So here we have the power supply. Here is usually the mechanism we're just using. And in here goes the hard drive, which I'm going to replace by this SCSI2SD. Now everything is set up, so I will turn on the Mac Plus. And let's get going. It won't boot up, as you can probably imagine, because we didn't put any image onto the SCSI2SD. This is why I'm going to use the original disks of System 6, 608 to be precise. And if it works, I will also install System 608 onto this hard disk. Now it asks to boot. So I will insert the System Tools disk. It boots just fine. And now here comes the only trick we will need to use in order to get this SCSI2SD going. I'll show you this in a second, because apparently we need to first initialize it. So I will eject the System Tools disk and insert the Utilities disk 1, on which we can find the hard disk 20SC setup. This one. And I'm running this application, and it shouldn't recognize any external hard drive connected. Searching for SCSI devices. Unable to locate a suitable drive connected to the SCSI port. The reason for that is simple. This program only recognizes drives which are either by Apple or compatible officially with Apple. Now, for that reason, somebody on the internet, I don't know who, created a patched version of this HDSC setup, which I've put on another floppy disk. And this patched version should actually be able to recognize the SCSI2SD. As you see, it's the patched setup. Now we run it, and let's see what happens. It is loading, and it is recognizing a disk. This disk is uninitialized, so I will initialize it. We want to initialize it, yes. And now we name it HD20SC. Alright. As you see, the indicator light on the SCSI2SD is now permanently illuminated. And it is mounting the disk. Now let's wait for a couple of seconds, and let's hope that it doesn't crash. Now it did indeed crash, so I will do something I actually wanted to avoid, which is I'll have to use someone else's image. Since I do not want to promote any particular image, mainly because when you Google it, you find one website very often, and as good as it explains everything, I couldn't get this very image to work, so I do not want to talk about something I couldn't get to work. I'll just show you the settings because I actually fixed it with an image from a friend. So we'll have these settings as we had them before. Oops, no, I've done a mistake. Then we'll have to set the device number 1 as before to a 2 GB image, which is the size of the image we're actually going to put on the SCSI2SD. And then we're going to enable a second target. We'll have to put this to auto so the computer knows where the sector on the SD card starts, where it should start to read. And this is the one I'm going to set to 20 megabytes. The reason for that is very simple. I'll boot up with this SCSI target 0 with a bootable image on the SD card. Then I'm going to initialize from that image the SCSI target number 1 with the 20 megabytes. And after that I go back to these SCSI2SD settings and just disable that image. And then it only finds the 20 megabyte image on the SD card. So we'll have a very complicated way to get to the same result. As you see, we have now here the HD20 SCSD, which we newly created, and it has 20 megabytes. Now I've already inserted System Tools disk of System 608. And now I'm actually going to install Macintosh System 608 on this virtual SCSI2SD. This is the first time I'm installing a Mac OS from a floppy onto a vintage computer, so I'm a bit excited. Let's see how this works and let's see what the Mac Plus wants of us. Right? We want, yes, let's just check if we can actually customize something. Select the items you want to select, shift click to select multiple items. Right. Okay, so I actually want that all, so let's try this. I want software for all Apple printers, Apple Share, Apple Talk, Quick Draw, whatever that is. I want it. I think these are actually printer drivers, which we should have chosen already with the tab all printers. Okay, here we have Mac specific softwares, then we have the option to install minimal versions, which I do not want to do. Alright, so yeah, let's try this. Okay, and it's preparing to install. As you see, it's already telling us that we need all 4 installed disks. Now, the Macintosh System 608 came on 4 800K floppy disks. The System Tools disk we have inside, and we have disk 1, disk 2, and the printing tools. And now I'm just going to fast forward to the end for you. Alright, now it really took a while, and it actually crashed mid-installation because one of the disks was faulty. This should be a reminder to always keep copies of your floppy disks. But now we have the HD20 SCSD, and if we open it we can find a system folder which holds everything that should be there. And I will do one final double check before I put it in the external case, which is I'm going to shut down the computer take out the floppy, and then we're going to restart and see if it boots from the external SCSI drive. Now, if it does, and it does, everything is fine. So the installation worked. As you see, it's also much quicker than the floppy disk. It's already there. We have our HD20 SCSD, and I will put the SCSI2SD now into the external case. Alright. So here we have the insides of the 20SC case, and I will just put this part back in, which is the fan and the connector. Now they built this rather intelligently, because this all is snap-on, so you can just easily snap these things in place. This here is the priority switch. This was to manually set the SCSI priority, which you can hopefully see here. So this end here connects to a SCSI hard disk. Usually we cannot use this with the SCSI2SD, but I will leave it in there nonetheless. Then we have the Molex connector for the energy supply, and for this one actually has a 12 voltage output, which you shouldn't use with the SCSI2SD. Hence I ordered this, which is a Molex to 5 volt USB adapter, and I will just connect this here. And then we go into the SCSI2SD with the micro USB cable. Oops, this doesn't want to connect. Maybe I put it in the wrong way. No, now it's connected. Okay, and then we have the cage for the hard drive itself, which is this. And this is where I'm going to mount the SCSI2SD. So I will put this away and show you briefly how I'm going to do that. Now, the SCSI2SD does not fit here because the mounting holes are actually for a 2.5 inch drive, so they do not fit. I don't know why they created it that way. I don't think it's smart, because SCSI2SD will mostly be replacing 3.5 inch drives, but that's just the way how they created this. So I will use this here, which I just bought on Amazon, which should mount here, at least 2 screws, and then we can put the SCSI2SD here, which should line up with the holes. Yeah, it does. So let me briefly screw this together, and then I'll show you the end result. We have here the original bracket mounted with the additional bracket to get to the smallest size, and then I've put the SCSI2SD on top of it. Now, as you can see, I used little nylon risers to get the SCSI2SD above board, so it doesn't touch any metal. And the indicator light, the version 5.2 doesn't actually have a connection. It has 2 pinholes for that though, so I just used 2 little metal legs in order to connect to these pins. And now let's put it into the case. So that is it. As you see, the micro USB cable is a bit too long, so I'll probably replace it for a shorter one, but everything fits in there, and everything is inside the 20SC case. And now I'm going to hook it up and see if it works one last time. So it is connected. Let's turn on the hard drive and the Mac Plus. Now, as you can probably hear, I did plug in the fan. Not that the SCSI2SD will need it, but it's nice to have this old school sound alongside the hard disk actually running. And the indicator light is working as well, and the Mac is booting up. So we have created a hard disk 20 SCSD.